Make it stop! Make it stop! Bear market! What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone's doing good. I'm doing good. Throat's a little sore again, man. I can't get over this strep throat. Mwah. But anyways, we're here. We're cooking. We're looking at the markets, guys. We got a big day. Michael Saylor bought some more BTC and did not completely top blast, but didn't mark the local top. We're going to go over that. We're going to go over what's going on with global tensions right now that are holding markets down a little bit. We got to go look at the stock market, because if that rolls, guess what else is going to roll? Bitcoin, crypto, risk on assets. But the outlier in all of this has been Bittensor TAO, guys. You know, I got in decent size, not as good as I would have liked, but around 152, hit 215 on some exchanges, 218 on other exchanges. But we're going to go over Bittensor, why I'm bullish on that. Again, guys, get used to that. It's going to be coming a lot. And we're going to go over some subnets, things like that. We've got a really good show for everyone today. Before we get started, diving into all of this, just as always, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. You wouldn't want to listen to a guy on the internet anyways, would you? Really? Like, I wouldn't want to, even though I did for years and years before I became a dude on the internet. But anyways, I hope you're doing really good. Let's see who's here today. LFG, man, what is happening? What is happening? Let's go, bro. I've been here. Bitcoin sign, are you still here? I'm happy to see you guys. We're trying to get to everyone. Comment and everything. Thanks for everyone. Retweet, share the space. If you're over on X, let's see, where am I at right now? Boom, boom. If you're over on X, guys, make sure to drop a follow, drop a likety like. And if you're over on YouTube, I don't even have YouTube pulled up, but if you're over on YouTube, make sure to drop a like, drop a bell notification. We got a big week coming up. We're going to have a live stream tomorrow, 1 hour earlier. Why is the time changing? Because I got to hop on a flight to go to Denver, okay? I'm going to be in Denver for Ethereum Denver, ETH Denver, okay? We're going to be talking about stable coins, going to be talking about artificial intelligence, privacy. A lot of people write Ethereum off, but Ethereum is the #1 chain with total value locked. Close to 60% of all DeFi TVL in crypto is on Ethereum. So that's why I'm going to be in Denver, and I hope to see some people there. I know of a lot of people that's going. 35-40K first week of October. That's my bottom call. Okay, I got it. So you're a bottom. No, I'm joking. Freeman, don't say that. Yeah, I've got I had something I posted a while back. Let's see if we can find it over here, that I was kind of talking about what I expect for BTC, but I post so dang much, it's hard for me to find it. Okay, here it is. Yeah, basically everything progressed a lot quicker than I had been thinking it would progress, right? We do have this trend line that's been intact. If we're going to be, referring to this 35-40K, it would definitely invalidate this trend line, at least for, a period of time. Could totally be done. But we do have this trend line that we need to watch out for and everything right here. And it's going to be coming to a date with the 200-week simple moving average. So let's see how it reacts to that. Earlier we had BTC and I had TAO pulled up right here. Earlier, I had orders at 58.2 actually, and never hit, right? Got front ran, which was the 200-week simple moving average. So I think it was around 58K, and I set orders a little higher than that, 58.2, but got front ran, game. Let's go. But yeah, let's see who else here. A big Bittensor fan. Yeah, man. I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Bittensor TAO, and we're gonna get into those. We were going to have Algorand up today, but I kind of got everything confused. So we've got next week, we're going to have Algorand up to talk about a couple things. And we're also going to have Anthony Pompliano up on Thursday. We're going to have him up on Thursday We're still trying to verify the time and everything, but that's where what we've got planned for y'all. Also, some other guests. I was with you on the trend line, but if you take it off logarithmic, but why take it off logarithmic, bro? Then my trend line don't work. It's looking more like 40-ish K. Yeah. For anyone that doesn't know about logarithmic, to not get into the technicals of it too much, but you could kind of just say like it takes time into account, okay? Versus just looking at raw price movement. So for instance, on one chart, like a $0 to $10 move would be the same as, like, let me think about this, $100 to $1,000 move. So like a 10x is more even if you're looking at it in logarithmic. So for any longer term assets, you would want to historically, theoretically, technical analysis, if I'm doing my little crystal ball, you would want it to be on logarithmic. But yeah, if you take it off logarithmic, yeah, it definitely does change. And we could take a look at that. I think I have this on logarithmic. But if we kind of go back, and this is on Blowfin, guys. Y'all know they're the stream sponsor for Finance Freeman live streams, guys. So shout out to Blowfin. Shout out to Blowfin. If you're looking for an exchange, there will be a link in the description. Get a little perks with that, and then also support the show, right, man? And it's a great exchange. I've used it a lot, and so you can see this is going back to like 24K. So we're not going back to like that 1600 range. Trying to see if they can update these charts to be the life of the crypto and not just when it's actually listed. It would be nice for being able to do some reviews. But we know historically a lot of altcoins just follow Bitcoin, right? So a lot of people are sitting back, taking a nap right now, waiting for BTC to bottom, and then they're going to get interested in altcoins. And as always, none of this financial advice. You can do stupid stuff if you want. You can do smart stuff if you want. But I think clocking out right now of crypto is a very big mistake for a lot of people. And I'll tell you why. So we've went over before that last cycle, Ethereum bottomed over the summer, and then BTC bottomed in October, right? But not only did that happen before, we're also at a time where altcoins are beat down bad. Like, and I'm not talking about the vaporware altcoins. I'm talking about like real altcoins, right? Like, let's look at Bittensor TAO. Like, if we just go back here and look from the all-time high, if it goes back that far, yeah, close enough. 780. Like, look at this. Like how much is it now? 78%, 75%, right? And so we're at a time where altcoins, good altcoins, Kaspa included, we could go over lots of them. I think Algorand's down really bad. A lot of them are down very bad. And so, like, how much lower can they really go if they're going to survive, right? And I don't think alts are done or anything like that. So that's one thing. But I want to show y'all a video of how quick technology is advancing. And the reason I want to show this is because in cryptocurrency, we have all had everything thrown into one bucket. You've had Bitcoin, and then everything else is just altcoins. And people categorize it the same way, altcoins, okay? And so they just think all of those go down together, all of those go up together. But we're at this time with artificial intelligence that I truly think everything's changing. And I think that the demand and the need and the mind share around decentralized artificial intelligence, I don't even think it's started yet. I truly don't. And I think that's where we could potentially see some of these projects run hard during a Bitcoin bear market when everyone else is expecting that it's just going to be down only, guys. And so that's what I want to get into. I want to show some stuff. Let's see. Short list of alts. I'm looking at Arrow, Ondo, Banker, Hype, Clanker. Okay, so you like base a lot and real world assets. Hype, yeah, I like Hype. I think about a couple things whenever I look at this list is, you want to really make sure that the altcoin has real use case, right? That it's not just an overall like proxy, And so like with Ondo, for instance, Ondo is tokenizing a ton of stocks. But that's Ondo Foundation, Ondo the company. What is the Ondo token doing? Like, it's governance. Okay, what is governance? Do we need governance? Do I care about governance? And so it's just something to keep in mind whenever we're looking for what the next good crypto is. What's the cryptos that are going to take a lot of mind share going forward? And so I want to get into this real quick of how quick technology changes. And this is something, happy Lunar New Year. I'm also going to go over my lunar evaluation of what it says is in store for Finance Freeman for this year. But this is how quick technology changes. Okay. This was last year at the Spring Festival Gala. Okay. And this is comparing those like robots, that we hear Tesla talking about and all these companies talking about. And you can see up top's going to be 2025, and on the bottom is going to be like yesterday. And look, like on top, they're dancing like they're 5-year-old kids and doing some kind of dance at the school. And on bottom, they look like they're ready to infiltrate a country. I mean, this is pretty crazy. And I share this because I think artificial intelligence moves the same way. It's moving extremely quick. We're seeing the cost of artificial intelligence go down drastically. And we're also seeing the demand for artificial intelligence going up drastically. Pretty crazy when you look at it and you see what they're able to do. And I think there will be a big tide of robotics coming over to crypto and for artificial intelligence, because I think that they need ways to pay microtransactions between different AI agents and things like that. I will do an update. So I use StreamYard to do all these streams, and they say that there's a problem with X right now. So that's why some of our viewership's lower, because it's not showing directly to X. Whenever it posts, people kind of have to go find it. So I'm trying to make sure to do a post. But, this is how quick this narrative moves. And I think the same could happen with subnets on Bittensor TAO. So these are all individual companies, individual projects that are doing different things, related to artificial intelligence. And, you can, from somebody that's just looking at an investor standpoint, you can kind of think of this as Bittensor TAO is Solana, and these are all the meme coins on Solana. Okay, that's not what it is. But from an investment perspective and trying to say, okay, what's the risk reward ratio between these? That kind of gives a foundational understanding of what it is, kind of how it operates and stuff, because you would stake TAO, swap TAO to get into these different subnets. Okay, and I believe there's 128 subnets currently, but they can all be made for different use cases, and these are all individual little businesses. And I look forward to, in the future, hopefully being able to bring some of these, doing deep, detailed reviews on these different subnets. I'll be honest, I still need to increase my knowledge on the entire Bittensor TAO ecosystem, because it's very, very complex. But that did not stop me from buying at 152 and putting that in the Discord whenever I bought at 152. My only regret is not buying a lot more. Okay, that's my only regret. And so coming over here, breaking down the TAO chart, it looks pretty good, especially when you compare it to everything else in crypto. I mean, look at this. Like, everything else is just kind of muddling along or down. Even Hype's down, and Hype's something that's historically done pretty well, against the grain of others. But whenever we're seeing the outliers of what is doing good, it's privacy and it's artificial intelligence. And, I've shared this before, why I think this is a potential, asymmetrical trade opportunity is because the entire AI market cap is less than Dogecoin right now. That's not even saying Bittensor TAO on its own, right? The entire artificial intelligence in crypto mind share is less than Dogecoin, And so whenever we think about that from an opportunity perspective, what I'm looking at is we've got AI running all the hype in stock market. Okay. Web 2's trying to integrate artificial intelligence, but there's going to have to be payment processing in between these AI agents. And I think that's got to be done with crypto. So I think we're going to see this full circle of developers who left crypto and went to AI. And now they're going to realize that, hey, one of two things. One, okay, we should build decentralized AI, and that's where it flows back to Bittensor TAO. Or they're going to realize, hey, how do we do these little microtransaction payments? How do we do that autonomously? And it's going to be on the blockchain, right? It's the only thing that makes absolutely any sense at all. But we do got a lot of macro stuff that I think we're waiting on. Okay, we're waiting on the Clarity Act, and I'll continue to keep y'all updated on that. But we also got a lot of stuff going on globally with the United States, with Iran, and you could see Iran closed part of the Strait of Hormuz. And if you take a look at this, this is this very, very small. Sorry about that. It's a very, very small body of water that the primary border is Iran. Okay. And whenever you take a look at it, something like 80% of the world's oil goes through this part right here, right? And so you could see the first thing whenever any news about this comes out is you see a spike in oil prices. And you've seen some this morning spike up to 63.40. But then whenever it was like, hey, negotiations are going good, things like that, the price of oil goes down, right? And so this is something that you want to watch. And the same thing, what we had was the stock market had a big loss this morning and it since regained it. Okay. And so this is the hourly candle. So if we just come over here looking at like Friday's open right here or Friday's close, it dropped about 2.5%, which is a lot for the stock market. And it's since got it back over the last couple hours. But, this is someone asked me what I think is going to happen with the markets, and this chart looks topped. I'll be completely honest with you. This is the Qs over on the stock market. Okay. So basically NASDAQ. And if you look at this, we came up here, hit 637, and we came up here and we didn't even sweep it. We just came a little bit short. Okay. About 63 or what was it? 636, something like that. So this looks kind of topped to me, okay? And I think we need a retrace. Now, that could be healthy. Whenever I'm looking at this, how I'm doing it from a TA perspective is like a rolling top, which is categorized the same way as a head and shoulders, or at least measured the same way. So you got to kind of figure out where's your neckline on this, right? And I would use this line right here, the 580 line. You could see it's been resistance right here, flipped into support right there, maintained support right there. So if we're just looking for like a raw technical analysis target for a drop like this, you would take the measurement and then, drop that down there. And so then we can look back on what are some support resistance levels that potentially match up with that. We have this right here that had acted as resistance in the past. And then obviously we have this level right here around 500. So if we're going to make it to 523, might as well make it to 500 in my opinion. And that would be a pretty good correction for the stock market. If we take a look, that's a 21% correction. That's enough to be categorized as a bear market. And so the reason I bring that up is whether you're into crypto, whether you're into stocks will flow into crypto, and the liquidity tightening that we are now at the peak of will flow into crypto. It already has flown into crypto. My opinion on all of this is that crypto is the most risk on asset that there is. And so whenever we're at a time that we are having a lot of tightening in fiscal policy, and I don't know what's going on over here. Let me refresh this. But whenever we're at a time that we have a lot of tightening going on, okay, and I was trying to look at the Fed's balance sheet right there, but we're now at peak Fed tightening, okay? And so what that means is that it's only up from here in terms of a liquidity standpoint. Okay, we got a new Federal Reserve chair coming in soon. But in terms of just crypto specifically, a lot of people are waiting on the Clarity Act. And so I want to go through a couple things with the Clarity Act. This gentleman, the CFTC chairman, talking about the Clarity Act over here on Fox News. And then we're going to dive into what Ripple's founder, Brad Garlinghouse, had to say about it. So let's get into this right here.
We are on the cusp of getting Clarity enacted into law. The regulation by enforcement's over, the Genius Act signed into law, and we've really turned a new page. And I would say the United States today is the crypto capital of the world. But we need to make sure that it stays that way. And this Clarity Act is really critical. The president has been clear that we need to get something enacted into law because we want to future-proof our statutory framework for crypto. We can't.
So we got to keep in mind that we've got midterms coming up, right, in November. And so both parties are going to want to try to win, obviously. But right now, the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the White House. Okay, so they've got Congress, they have the White House. And if they lose one of those, then Trump's kind of like a lame duck president, meaning that it's hard to push legislation through if you don't have full control over everything. And so I think we're going to see a lot of things trying to incentivize markets, trying to incentivize voters to try to, win the midterms.
Allow for Gary Gensler 2.0 to come in and tear it all up. And so this legislation is critical. It's all hands on deck, and we're making a push to get it done. There are some little wrinkles around the point you mentioned on the yield front, which we thought some of this was settled with the Genius Act, but it's coming back to the bear.
So there's a couple different takes on this, and I think it's important to realize that everyone's incentivized by something, okay? And most of the time it's financial incentives. And so you can see that Coinbase, their big take on it, and Brian Armstrong's big take on it is that we need to have stablecoin yield for exchanges such as Coinbase to be able to lend out USDC from people, but that they would opt into it and be able to get 3, 4, 5% yield. And banks are fighting that, okay? As you can see right here, here's an article about it. For a very thoughtful take in Reuters on why U.S. bank stablecoin arguments don't hold up. One point worth underscoring, the $6.6 trillion number from the bank industry's TBAC study is actually the entire amount of all deposits in U.S. transactional bank accounts. It's not a serious deposit fight estimate. In fact, the same TBAC study projected a total amount of stablecoins in circulation to be 2 trillion. Okay. And so whenever we're looking at this, we have to think of what everyone's incentives are. Banks are incentivized to protect their fractionalized lending, which we will go over in just a second. Coinbase is incentivized by being able to be the everything exchange, offer stocks, and also offer stablecoin yielding at a higher APY, APR than what banks would historically give. You see, also bank deposits are historically sticky and not yield seeking, even with the legacy system. That's why banks are able to pay virtually no interest to consumers, and most stablecoins are currently held overseas, where demand for Genius Act stablecoins likely come. Bottom line, stablecoins are a powerful way to increase the overall demand for the US dollar. I've said that multiple times. It's a way for US dollar dominance in the world via stablecoins. But here's a really good video that I want to show talking about banking and what happens to your money when you put your money in a bank, because a lot of people do not understand this right here. So let's play this video.
So if you deposit $10,000 into the bank sets aside 10% or $1,000 and then loans out the rest of your money. The way it works is, say another person comes into the bank and asks for a car loan of $9,000. At this moment, the bank loans out the $9,000 from your original deposit. It isn't there anymore. The borrower then pays the person selling the car, and they go deposit the money into another bank, which is part of the same central banking system. This $9,000 is treated as a new deposit, and the process continues. The money gets redeposited and reloaned until the initial deposit of $10,000 becomes $100,000.
So that is the banking system in a whole, fractionalized banking, fractionalized lending. And that really helps put it in perspective of what's going on and why they do not want it, right? Why banks don't want to get rid of that, right? If I could lend out all this money, and Coinbase's argument is that, stable coins under the Genius Act, which was the one passed at the end of 2025, stable coins, at least US regulated stable coins like Circle, are backed 1-to-1 with short-term US treasuries. So that's not the case for the fractionalized banking system. The fractionalized banking system is backed 10-to-1, right? I mean, if you just seen that example of how lent out it is, it's really, really crazy when you think about that. But then we can come over here and listen to Brad Garlinghouse, the founder or CEO of Ripple, who is the company behind XRP. And, he's pushing for the Clarity Act to go through. And so now you have to understand what's his incentives, right? His incentives is adoption for Ripple, adoption for XRP, not necessarily worried about stable coin yields. So that's where we have to break down who's on our side with the Clarity Act and who's not. And so let's listen to this. This is Bank XRP over on X, and see what Brad Garlinghouse had to say.
We were pretty darn close to the Clarity Act going into the banking committee markup process, which would have been a very big positive step. It got stalled. The thing I would say about that is let's not let kind of public outrage around certain things that could maybe be better masquerade as representing the whole industry in a certain way. And what I mean by that is mostly I think it's so clear that clarity is better than chaos. And the Clarity Act as written, it's not perfect. If anybody in here has ever seen a perfect piece of legislation, there's things I don't love about it, but let's not let perfection get in the way of progress.
And Brian Armstrong's take, the CEO of Coinbase, is that he would rather no bill than a bill that isn't 100% aligned to the beliefs of Coinbase.
Ripple has been a big advocate of kind of pushing that through because of our journey. We got sued by the SEC, had a very painful 4 years. And although we have that clarity, a federal judge ruled in our case that XRP is not a security. That's clarity. The industry does not have clarity. And whether we like it or not, the fortunes of Ripple kind of rise and fall a little bit on the fortunes of the crypto industry. Right. We want the industry to do well. And so we have been big advocates of getting this passed. I'll give it at 80% by the end of April, it's signed.
So 80% by the end of April. So if we kind of look at how this aligns with everything going on right now, if we take a look at, let's just come over here, pull up BTC, for instance, just so we have something to look at. So the clip looks good. No, I'm just joking. But if we just pull this up and we come look at, when April's going to be, okay? And so right here, end of April, right there, close enough. Okay. So if we're looking at this and we want to kind of put a timeline on what's going on with everything. So if we get clarity right here by the end of April, okay, that aligns very closely with what happens on May 16th. The second blue line right here is the new Federal Reserve Chair. Jerome Powell no longer in, okay? Kevin Warsh in. We can think with pretty high certainty that interest rates are going to be cut and that liquidity is going to start flowing through the system. As I said earlier, we have reached peak tightening. The Fed officially ended quantitative tightening. I believe it was at the end of October, early November. And so if you look at all of this and kind of correlate with what we have, okay, possible legislation right here. Right here on this line, we've got a new Federal Reserve Chair. And then let's put one more line right here. And this is midterms. And so in between these points right here, there has to be bullish news for the Republicans. And what is more bullish than having people's bags pump, right? At the end of the day, you know, everyone has to make money. Everyone's investing to try to make money. And so that's kind of the timeline that I'm looking at. So what happens in the interim? I think it's going to be a little rocky. You know, if we're just taking a look at BTC, let's come over here, take a look at Bitcoin and kind of see what we're looking at. Let's go to the hourly chart right here. You know, everything kind of looks like a bear flag until it's not, you know, if we're being completely honest. But if we take a look at this, let's zoom in a little more. Let me clear this up. Okay. Let's take a look right here. If we come from this bottom wick and we come up, we can see that we have broken down under that. If we come right here, draw this, you can see we have broken down under this bottom line right here. However, if we don't count the wick and we come up here and we take these three and we come, you can see we're right there at it. So it depends how you want to look at it. You know, for the benefit of the doubt, let's say that this one's the case. Okay. Let's say that this is the case right here, because this does give us more hourly touch points, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus just the wick on this. And I often do like to try to get as many touch points as I can when doing technical analysis, but we're kind of in, you know, this realm right here, you know, and if you really wanted to come back and look at, you know, where it would drop down to from a technical analysis perspective, if we were treating this as something that was going to break down, even though it doesn't look perfect or something, you know, you could do something like this, but it's going to take it low. You know, it takes it to about 38K, right? And so depends where it breaks out. Let's say it breaks out right here. Let's say it goes up, 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 all the way to the end of February. Boom, that puts BTC a little bit over 40K. Obviously, this is all technical analysis and, you know, could be completely wrong. We could be up only after tomorrow, could be down only after tomorrow. But if you take a look at it, we've moved a lot quicker than I anticipated, which is another reason why I'm so excited about TAO, because TAO's been moving against the grain. Let's see, who do we got here? Oh, what's up, buddy? I'm glad you made it, my man. Glad you made it. Enjoying the analysis. Yeah, man, that's what we're here for, brother. That is what we are here for. If there's anything y'all want to look at over here, look for trade setups, y'all let me know. But right here for TAO, it does kind of look like a cup and handle forming. You know, it's not the prettiest, I'll be honest with you. But we've got a really pivotal level if we want to look at a couple things right here. This level of around $200 is major resistance for us right now on TAO. If you look at a little closer, it kind of looks like an inverse head and shoulders, which is, you know, not always the best, but if you wanted to take a technical analysis measurement on that, it would break out to around this 255 level. And what I think is a little interesting about that is if we come over here and we take a couple breakdowns, and I made a post about this earlier. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Like if we can break over this level, I think we're in really good room for Bittensor. If we come over here to my X, I want to show y'all what I posted earlier. Right here, and you can kind of see it. This is this long-term channel, and you can see this right here that's been going from around 400. This touch point is going to be around 230, 240, depending on when we hit it. And so if you take this breakout right here, it's right around, you know, the 240 level. It also coincides with this level that has been support and resistance in the past, which is approximately this, right? If we take a look at this, Here, dropped underneath it, resistance became support, 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 support until we broke up underneath it. And so these are kind of the levels that I'm watching for TAO, you know, and none of it changes my long-term outlook on Bittensor because I'm extremely bullish on the project, but it's some things to look out for, right? If we can get over this 200 level, I think we're kind of a magnet to 240. And if we can get over 240, you know, things could definitely get interesting because we're currently in a sea of red. We're currently in, you know, a Bitcoin bear market, just face it, you know, and we've got something running against the grain. But why is it running against the grain? And it's not because of hype. It's not because of any of that. It's because that there's real use case. Okay. There's real use case in all of these subnets. There's real use case in decentralized artificial intelligence. That's what this is all about. Decentralized artificial intelligence, getting it away from the open AIs of the world, of the Anthropics of the world. We reviewed a little earlier in the week, you know, some of the risk reports that have came out with Opus 4.6, you know, and so it's interesting. And we are getting a lot of mind share on TAO. If we come look at everyone that's been talking about TAO, let's see what Coin Market Cap said. Why the TAO pump? The token bounced hard from the 140 level, fueled by massive 30K spot buy and a new listing on Upbit, which is South Korea's major exchange. Liquidity is flooding back into the market leader as cements its dominance because this is the number one AI project, at least categorized AI project. It wasn't just TAO, Allo, NIL rallied both over 30%. Virtuals climbed 17. Okay, a privacy versus ghost narrative has taken shape. Venice surged 110% to 3.9 on its uncensored AI value prop. Conversely, Internet Computer faced heavy criticism as data revealed 5,000 daily active users despite its 1.3 million evaluation. So that's saying that the Internet Computer doesn't have as many users as it probably should for something demanding such a high market cap. But you know, it's important to mention that this 30K spot buy did not happen at the bottom. You know, I don't know if they show it right here where it happened, but I can show you where it happened. The buy came like right here. It came around this 185, or it might have even been this one right here. But it came around the 185 level, and then it wicked it up to like 215, 208. Depending on where you look, and it was sold off back under 200. And so we're battling for this 200 level price point. But that's really what I've got right now. I'm all eyes on this. That kind of sounded like I was into the stream. I'm not into the stream. Just talking about in terms of Bittensor. You know, it's kind of what I'm looking at. But dips are being bought, and 200 is still acting as a resistance level. I think it was right here. Now that we're on a lower time frame, that buy, it was Sunday night. Yeah, that lines up. Sunday night. Yeah. And so there was a huge spot buy, and it bumped it up 13% on that buy. And so that shows you what, you know, how much that is. Let's look. How much is 30,000 TAO? I can't. It's like framing you're too broke. I can't even do it. 30,000 TAO. Let's take a look. What is that in USD? What, 66 million? Is that what it is? I'm over here acting like I can't even do math. But it's a huge buy. Kind of interesting that would be done in that manner, you know? It's yeah, 6 mil approximately. So I wish it was me. It wasn't. It definitely was not me. I promise, guys. But I am, yeah, Bittensor TAO is something I'm very, very excited about, you know? And a lot of people wonder sometimes why like Kaspa isn't listed on tier ones or why it's not listed at all on a lot of things. And it's expensive to integrate a layer one, right? If you're integrating a Solana meme coin, it's easy. You already have the infrastructure built out for Solana, you know, and that's something that when I was meeting with Blowfin about them sponsoring our streams, you know, they were like, yeah, man, we spent a lot of money integrating Bittensor TAO. And they were extremely bullish on it. And I found that interesting. And I'll tell you why is because, you know, I hadn't owned any TAO at the time, and I'd known about it, but I found out about TAO after it hit like 700, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to top blast this thing, and I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to watch the AI narrative, and I'm going to watch all of that unfold. And, you know, and to see a large exchange like Blowfin, who I would categorize as a tier 2, and that they've been in the game for a couple years now, for them at a time when everything's going down, Bittensor TAO is under $200, to see them want to make the investment to list it spot. I mean, it said a lot to me. You know, it really did. It said a lot to me about the project, about their belief in it, you know, because they're not going to, you know, these are businesses, right? They're not going to put money into something that they don't believe in, you know? And so to see TAO get listed, it really made me want to take another look into it. So shout out to Blowfin guys for inspiring me to take a deeper look into TAO. And once I did that, I was sold, you know, and like I said, I got it. I talked to y'all about it last week on the stream. We were at, when I made my purchases, and remember, just because I'm doing something don't mean you should do it. It's not financial advice, but it was like 152. Okay. And it had about a 40% pump since then. And just to show the type of mind share that this takes, and we're getting, good morning, Sunshine. What's up, LFG? If anybody wants to hit up Freeman, you can hit up Connect, which is a part of LFG's deal. But you know, there's obviously a lot of mind share behind Bittensor. So I posted this article about centralized AI should scare you, why Bittensor TAO might be the best trade of our lifetime. And what I basically go over is all of the problems that is surrounded with centralized artificial intelligence. You know, Anthropic just dropped a risk report of Opus 4.6. It helped create, you know, this, you can read it. It conducted unauthorized tasks without getting caught, sneaky sabotage. It knew when it was being tested, it could act good, stuff like that. And my thesis pretty much goes around that we should have decentralized artificial intelligence. You know, I think that we haven't got to that point yet. Like, we have not. Right now, this is all stuff that was found during testing, right? What happens when something like this is not found in testing and it's found in a real life? That's when I think the real demand for decentralized AI comes, you know, and just like I say here, one day from a, you know what moment, you know, and this right here showed, this was right after the run up. This is a 4-hour chart. So you can see this is about the span over 2 days. And the risk for the trade, in my opinion, comes with, you know, there's a lot of money behind these centralized artificial intelligence companies. And so they could dominate for the long term, you know, and maybe we don't get the pivot to decentralized AI as quick as I think. Maybe it never comes, but it's not what I think. It's just not what I think, you know. I think that we are so incredibly early, and just looking at the overall crypto market cap, and that AI is only taking up 15 billion of that market cap. It's really an undervalued asset class in my personal opinion. But let's see what else we got cooking over here today. Let's see. Okay. Michael Saylor did not completely top blast whenever he purchased this MSTR or purchased this Bitcoin for MSTR. I came out talking last week about how bad it is that every time they post one of these buys, they'll be like, strategy bought 1,000 Bitcoin at 76,000. And you open your phone, you look at the charts like 64K. You're like, what the heck are you doing, dude? Like, you have a fiduciary duty to do right by, you know, MicroStrategy or strategy shareholders. But this one, maybe he changes OTC desk. Maybe he's not buying Bitcoin at the mall kiosk anymore. Maybe he's actually going through a legitimate, you know, place, you know, and I'd like to talk to him. Maybe one day after Anthony Pompliano, we can get him on. But it'd be cool to talk about what the process is of MSTR buying Bitcoin. I know they have their credit system, STRC, I believe, and through that, they're able to acquire BTC. But yeah, so they didn't completely top blast, but they are still underwater. 76,000 per Bitcoin is their average, and they bought these for 67K. So they're actually averaging down. If I was shareholders, I would not want them to buy any BTC unless it's averaging down, because they already have over 3% of the supply. Like, and is that good for Bitcoin long term? I don't think so. I think the best thing to do for Bitcoin would be if strategy went under. If strategy went under, it would be this like crazy world ending moment, right? There'd just be whoosh, everything would crash. But I mean, you wouldn't have 4% owned by a centralized entity, right? This is them trying to risk mitigate right here, or showing, the MicroStrategy risk mitigation. And I do like MicroStrategy. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not a MicroStrategy hater or anything like that. Strategy can withstand a drawdown in BTC price to 8K. Imagine 8K BTC. And still have sufficient assets to fully cover our debt. So let's take a look at MicroStrategy here. Current balance sheet, and this is at a 60K BTC price. So they have about 50 bill in BTC, and their debt is 6 bill. And you could see if they had an extreme 88% decline to 8K, that at that point they would be 1-to-1 debt with their BTC reserve. And I don't think that's convertible debt, so I don't think anything happens. But let's see, strategy plans to equalize existing convertible debt over time and avoid issuing additional senior debt. So yeah, it's interesting to see how the DATs have came about and how you've seen a lot of the DATs unwinding. And it just begs the question, like you have so many people that just follow the leader, like when MicroStrategy did this, it really saved the company. If we take a look at a failed software company, which is what it is, or what it was, let's just go back on the monthly. Okay. At one point, MSTR was 42 cents, right? In April of 2022. Okay. And then it came up, but there was a long period of time, basically this line right here, that strategy could have been bought under $20, right? And since then it's hit $500, but obviously back then they weren't doing the digital asset treasury company portion and things like that. But it begs the question, with all of these different derivatives for BTC, you're able to, people can long BTC on something like Blowfin, for instance. They can go to the stock market and they can, get call options, put options. There's a lot of claims to the same BTC. And I talked about this on David's show recently, and I can show you all that clip. But, how many of these digital asset treasury companies are just going to continue trying to follow the Michael Saylor narrative? And then you see some of them like Grant Cardone trying to put his own spin on it. And yesterday I showed that he called Satoshi Nakamoto Satoshi Mako or something, like he doesn't even know his name. Like, so you got all these people with money just piling in, trying to replicate what Michael Saylor has done, and the fact of the matter is, the bulk of those profits from 20 to 500, have happened. At least, strategy may be able to replicate it, but now there is so many other options for investors like ETFs, so if somebody wants exposure to BTC on the stock market, they used to buy MSTR, but now they could buy, IBIT, which is an ETF. They can buy leveraged ETFs. And so I don't know. I think that the demand for strategy as a Bitcoin proxy goes down from here. Now, it doesn't mean that, the price goes down forever and that strategy isn't able to succeed. The number one thing they have going for him is Michael Saylor. He's able to communicate in a way to people, put things in analogies, explain Bitcoin in such a simple perspective for people. And that's something a lot of crypto projects aren't able to do. I was talking to Michael Sutton about that with Kaspa. If we come take a look at this, we can go over that. Let's see what this is. Still time for that new bear market now. See, this guy thinks everything will go down, but he also missed the pump on on Bittensor. So I shared something earlier and just talking about Michael Saylor being able to explain it to everyone. This is one of the lead engineers behind Kaspa. And he puts out this awesome article, right? This awesome post that really talks about all the things Kaspa is doing. And I just retweeted it and was like, great post, but 99% of retail has absolutely no idea what you're talking about here. And he came back to say that, his posts are creating the inner circle and occupying it with strong and correct understanding of fundamentals. To some degree, second order explanations will mostly echo in the wild. So they have this theory that if you build it, they will come. But I don't think people come if they don't know it exists. And, I'm not saying I'm bearish on Kaspa. I love Kaspa. But I just think that what Michael Saylor is able to do with Bitcoin is what's needed for basically every other crypto, whether you're talking about Bittensor TAO, whether you're talking about Kaspa. You have to have a way to explain this to the masses in a way that the masses can understand. Not everyone has a PhD. I cheated through my engineering degree. I couldn't. Come on, man. What you talking about? And so it's we just have to be able to explain these projects to people that understand and be able to really showcase that there is differences between them. There's differences between Hyperliquid and Chainlink, and there's differences between, Bittensor TAO, something that actually is really good, and something like Polygon, which probably will go to zero, and something like Render, the difference between Render and Polkadot, right? Something that should probably go to zero and Polkadot, right? Tron, don't even like it, guys. Y'all know my opinion on Tron. Get that out of here. Get it out of here. I don't like it. I don't like it. And so that's basically my overall assumption on, Michael Saylor and everything that he's doing. But we got the Lunar New Year happened yesterday. And I've never believed in any of this stuff, right? My wife's one of those girls that go look at, astrology and zodiacs, this and that, and all of this fugazi stuff, right? And I never believed in it. Like, she would read me something. I was like, oh, Mike, this is so you. And it's like, yeah, you made a good decision and it changed your life. And the sun came up this morning. And my wife's like, see, look, that's exactly you. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a lot of people, right? But this surprised me, okay? And so I went in ChatGPT, told it way too much information about myself, and it spit out what my outlook is, okay? And so I am what's considered a wood dog, okay? I didn't know that before, but I know I'm a Cancer, and evidently I'm a wood dog. And so this is saying I'm entering the energetic influence of Year of the Horse 2026. The focus is practical momentum, decision-making, and timing rather than generic horoscope language. And so let's see. Core energy. I'm a wood dog, okay? I'm a wood dog, guys. So long-term thinker with strong integrity and loyalty. I hope you can all see that because it's something I do pride myself on. Naturally protective of community. Leadership grows through trust. And this is really something I do. I call out scammers, and I honestly care about my community. I'm not a grifter. Skeptical of hype and prefers fundamentals and conviction. I think that's true. Like, I'm sitting here questioning Ondo, for instance. What's this governance token? Does it actually have anything to do with Ondo Foundation tokenizing stocks, right? Best result, come from consistency and credibility over short-term noise. I've been building here for 2 years, guys. That's what I'm trying to do. But how? That's my core energy because I'm a wood dog. But 2026 theme, year of the horse. Horse years bring speed, visibility, and movement. For a dog sign, this is generally a compatible cycle. Momentum increases, opportunities appear quickly, and decisive action is rewarded. Momentum year, less about waiting, more about execution, guys. Y'all know Finance Freeman. We are going to ETH Denver tomorrow. Okay, y'all know I made the jump to full-time content creator in the beginning of a bear market. Okay, higher public visibility and audience growth potential. We've been hitting some bangers, guys. We had a clip get 500,000 views. We had articles get 70,000 views. I think this one's probably at like 16,000 right now. So that one's not as heavy. But if you just look at, my following compared to some of the views, I'm starting to believe this stuff. I'm starting to believe this. Okay, maybe I am a wood dog, whatever that means. Okay, and so fast opportunities, delayed decisions may mean missed windows. Burnout risk if pace is unmanaged. I've burned myself out before, guys. I don't know when to stop. Okay, business and risk taking. This year favors calculated aggression. Move early when conviction is strong, but avoid reactive decisions driven by hype cycles. The best gains come from doubling down on what already works. And I think I've showed that this year so far because we're at a time when everyone's saying we're in a bear market, we're in this and that, right? And I, got into TAO at 152, right? That's a 40% up, right? And so my reason for doing this experiment is to see if I believe this stuff. If I believe what this Lunar New Year kind of thing is, right? And so relationships and social energy, more networking and social opportunities than usual. I'm expecting that. I'm going to be going to ETH Denver. If you're going to ETH Denver, let me know. I can't wait to meet you, shake your hand, talk to you. High energy people may enter your orbit. Choose quality over quantity. And it's something I have done. I've met a ton of people, I've got some good following here, but I do keep a pretty tight circle, right? Like one of my best friends in the space going to ETH Denver as well. I'll show y'all. You should totally follow her if you don't. But like Crypto Empress, right? Really good friend. We trust each other. But, I'm not sitting here trying to, network with a million people because I think whoever you associate yourself with is a direct representation of who you are. You are who you surround yourself with. And so I think it's a cool thing that, I'm trying to choose quality over quantity. So this is talking to me. It's talking to me. Work intensity can create distance unless personal time is protected intentionally. This is something I'm very, very bad at. Like work-life balance. I'm more like work, that's it kind of thing. I know my wife gets on to me about that and stuff. But overall, I do need to be better at that. And so I understand what they're saying here. Health and energy. Horse year pace can lead to mental overdrive and fatigue. Okay, I get it. I understand it. Consistency beats extremes. Recovery routines matter. Schedule downtime as deliberately as work sessions. I am not too good at that. I do take a hibernation every day, like 30 minutes laying in bed with meditation music. I call it a hibernation. And I lay in bed and I do that for like 30 minutes after this stream. So if you're watching this stream after, I'm probably laying in bed for 30 minutes. But bottom line summary, stream ready. And the reason it says that is I told it to knock out my birthday and stuff like that, just in case any of y'all are obsessed with me and want to come try to find me. This is a risk on personal cycle. Momentum, visibility, and leadership opportunities are higher than usual. The biggest wins come from acting decisively while maintaining structure. The main danger is overextension rather than lack of opportunity, guys. So me, I believe this. Okay. I've never been one to believe the astrology or any of this kind of stuff, but this, I'm officially accepting the fact that I'm a wood dog and that this is the year of the horse and it's going to be the best year in the world for me. And I'm ready to take every opportunity that I can. So, woo, what a mouthful, guys. Let me know what y'all think about this. What is this? That's still too high level for this. What is he talking about? What is this guy talking about? This guy, he's always talking mess, but he's just a low IQ individual, you know, and you're gonna find those in life. So it's okay. It's okay. Let's see. Let's go through, see what CT is talking about. The daily Logan Paul sells, man, let's look at this. Only 378 views. Maybe we're early to this article. Logan Paul sells previously tokenized Pokemon card for $16 million. Okay. Anthony Scaramucci's son, y'all probably seen his dad, you know, on TV and stuff, bought the card for $16 million. He originally bought it for $5.3 million. Now it's really hard for me to believe like really any of this stuff because, you know, how much is it hype? How much is it this or that? But Logan Paul did tokenize 51% of the Pokemon card. And I think those tokenized shares sold for 2.5 million. And then it kind of went under, right? And so if I'm looking at this, a $16 million sale, 8 million of that should go to the people that held tokenized reserves of this Pokemon card, you know? And it's people like this that give cryptocurrency a bad name, right? That give blockchain technology a real name because, you know, there's some of us here that actually believe in this technology that yes, you could tokenize a real world asset such as a Pokemon card and, you know, sell 51% of it to the public or 49% of it to the public or 5% of it to the public. It doesn't matter. But you have people like Logan Paul who are just opportunist. Like they see something's hot, they want to get in there, they want to launch an NFT, they want to make a coin, they want to do this. And then they're gone. When the money is made, when the hype's made, they're completely gone, right? And that's what we have to avoid in crypto. And I kind of hope that that you know there's some judgment against this, that there is that he has to pay people for the card, you know, because that'll bring some legitimacy back to it. You can Logan Paul actually sold the Pokemon card, the Pikachu card, for 19 mil, not 16.5. Don't forget his 2.6 mil raise from the liquid marketplace in 2022 in exchange for 51% shares of this asset. Should he get away with it? You know, let's see what the comments say. Oh, wow. He addressed it. Okay. What an epic night. I'm truly grateful for the Pokemon community, Ken Golden, and my team for making last night a historical moment for the hobby. Bro, I wish I could afford $16 million hobbies. Golly jolly. To address concerns regarding the ownership history of the card. Now for the facts. I had originally offered to sell up to 51% of the card on liquid marketplace, but ultimately only 5% of the card was sold for about $260K in the summer of 2022 to fractionalize ownerships with liquid marketplace. In May 2021, I bought the card back for the same price it was sold for per the terms of liquid marketplace and made funds available to users to withdraw. I was told that those funds were available to be withdrawn for approximately a year after being deposited into LM user accounts. And many of the fractionalized owners did indeed withdraw the funds. For reasons outside of my control, the liquid marketplace site then went offline. When I learned users could no longer withdraw their funds, I personally paid to get the site back up. Users are now able to withdraw their funds right here. They were notified via email. And so just think if you were somebody that, that's what confuses me. If you were willing to give up ownership of it, how could you just buy back 5.4% of it? I think that he owes people a 5x on their money, but that's what happens, guys. You got to be careful with these kind of people coming into cryptocurrency, trying to use our technology and things like that. It's no good. It's no good at all. It's bad for everybody. Man, look at the move. Palantir, Google, Meta, and Amazon all moving to Miami. North Miami has great schools, but people aren't moving there for the schools. They're moving there for lack of taxes. Let's see. Tax refunds this year because of the great big beautiful bill are substantially greater than ever before. In some cases, estimates are that over 20% will be returned to the taxpayer. So when you get your tax return, think about what a wonderful president you have. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, no tax on overtime, interest deduction on car loans, and much more. Don't spend all this money in one place. Buy Trump coin. No, he didn't say that part, but that'd be funny. That'd be funny, man. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's see what else is going on. Breaking. New York City Mayor Mamdani is proposing raising New York City's property tax for the first time in more than 2 decades. Duh, you can't give everything out for free. And, realize that's this dude, man. He's like, I'm going to give everything out for free. I'm going to give everything out for free. Then you realize nothing is free. Nothing's free. Somebody has to pay for it. So what's he going to do? Tax people more and then tell them they get something for free? There's a reason that the United States has been the best economic form that we've ever seen in the United States or that we've ever seen in the world. It's capitalism works. It's fair. It's everyone has equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Let's see how Circle's doing. Circle's the company behind stablecoins. I bought some of that last week or a couple weeks ago. 62. Wow. Yeah, it hit the 786 fib level perfectly. You see that? Right there, 786, because it IPO'd at like $31. And so it hit that level perfectly, which was a 78.6 retrace on a stock. But while I like this, because if we're just wanting to do rough targets of this, easily, could hit some of these extensions right here. And it really just depends on how much adoption comes with real world assets and or with stable coins, which is the first real adoption of real world assets that we've seen. So these are some of the targets that I'm looking for. I bought this in my brokerage account and also in my my IRA account. But guys, markets looking bad overall, but I still believe we're closer to the bottom than we are the top from what we see. What I'm looking at right now is TAO. I'm like all eyes on Bittensor TAO. Not even really looking at the chart of Kaspa, not really looking at the chart of anything. I'll DCA into those, but what I'm looking for right here is how this AI meta comes, okay? And this real use case of decentralized artificial intelligence. And hopefully we are forming an inverse head and shoulders here, because if we were, you take the point of the neckline, take it to there, take it to the breakout point, and see where that lands. So that would be about 212. And yeah, we have a couple, this right here, 215, that's that wick, but that's 205. So really we have a resistance from 205 over here. So we can draw that as a trend line and then draw this as a horizontal line right there. So you can kind of see what we're looking at right there. Let's see what happens if we take this down to the body. Nah, not too much. I was wanting to see if it would jump up over this. It's kind of an interesting take if you look at that. Up here, here, broke out, retested. Kind of an interesting look right there for TAO. But guys, like I said, Blowfin is the official sponsor of the live streams, guys. It's the only centralized exchange I use to do my trading. So if you are interested in, finding a new exchange, I recommend trying out Blowfin. There will be a link down below, give some discounts on trading and stuff like that. But as always, I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own research on everything. But I have personally been using them for a couple years. If you don't follow me over on X, guys, we're growing, because if we take a look at this, I am a wood dog and I got that energy, and we're going to grow. And if I could buy stock in Finance Freeman live stream, I would definitely do it. But I don't think that is possible, because I'm not tokenizing this. I'm owning it. I'm owning this thing, boy. I'm owning it. That's what we're doing. And then over on YouTube, I appreciate everyone. We will be back 1 hour early tomorrow, 11 a.m. We're going to have a kind of tight schedule tomorrow, 11 a.m., maybe 10:30. We'll see how much I have to talk about. But we're going to go from 10:30 or 11 a.m. tomorrow. I'll post it early into noon Central Standard Time. So we're going to be ending at the time we normally start, because I'm going to ETH Denver. And I can't wait to update all of you with the bullish things that we have going on with stablecoins, artificial intelligence, and everything surrounding decentralized finance with Ethereum, guys. Make sure you follow. Thank you for the support. I love you all. We will see you tomorrow.